Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly Live. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. And boy, is it a juicy one. Okay. We have ourselves a new quarterback starting in Washington yet again. Now, this isn't something that I'm all that surprised about. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. As a matter of fact, I will share something with you guys that obviously you wouldn't know. This information isn't privy to you now yet, but I'm going to tell you right now. I was planning on the video that I put out today. That was going to be, hey, if Dwayne Haskins gets benched in the future, it'll be because of plays like this one. That's what that video initially was going to be. And I'll tell you how I found out Dwayne got benched. I woke up this morning and I was about to take my son to daycare. And my girl hits me up. She was already at work and she hits me up and she's like, hey, did you already take Trey already? And I'm like, no, not yet. You need to hurry up. You got a video to do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You didn't hear the news? I'm like, no. What are you talking about? Y'all benched Dwayne. I'm like, no, we didn't. Stop. She said, yes, we did. We benched Dwayne. So I picked up my phone and I looked. Sure enough, Dwayne was benched. So I'm like, okay, I do have some work to do, but not as much as I thought I was going to have to do, but I still had work to do. And, you know, that didn't really shock me as much as what I heard probably 7 minutes later. As I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed, I run across, oh, by the way, not only is Kyle Allen starting, but Dwayne is going to be relegated to QB number 3. Alex is now the backup. What? Wait a minute. Are you serious? We're doing that right now. That's the move. That's the move. So you're telling me that Dwayne goes from starting to now he's going to be inactive on game days. Correct. Oh. Didn't see that one coming. That was the curveball that I got today. That wasn't the Dwayne getting benched. I was sitting on fastball. I got fastball. But I fouled it off. You know, I knew fastball was coming. It was still 90. It was still 98 miles an hour. God damn, it got down here quick. I got a piece of it though. So now I know I'm in the hole. I'm 0-2. I'm down 0-2. That's a pitcher's count. I'm just looking to protect the plate at this point. And I'm hoping I get another fastball. The scouting report says I'm supposed to get another fastball down 0-2. They're just going to try to elevate it on me. Take it up in the strike zone. So here I am looking for another fastball, just elevated. And these boys threw me a nasty hook. Whoo, buckled my knees right over the center of the plate. Couldn't even take the bat off my shoulders. So that was the curveball that I wasn't expecting. Hey, not only are you benched, but you now aren't even active. You went from a C on your chest to just, hey, see your way over to the bench. So, yikes. Didn't see that coming. But after watching the film for these first 4 weeks of the season, and remember, I kept saying the same thing over and over again. The last staff, the last regime kept saying, he doesn't repeat mistakes. And I was watching the film and I'm like, this is the same shit I saw last week. It's the same shit I saw the week before that. And it's the same mistakes that I saw the week before that as well. And at some point, it's like talking to one of your kids. At some point, you get tired of telling them the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over again before you say, all right, I got to do something now. There needs to be some type of action that takes place so that they know I'm serious. Because they think I'm bullshitting. They think I'm joking. So you got to do something to let them know that you're serious. But this is not what this essentially is. Ron said this in his interview. And we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But Ron said in his presser today that there were guys on this team that were tired of losing, and you could see that Dwayne, and he didn't say it specifically like this, but he implied that Dwayne wasn't doing his job. He wasn't doing enough to give us a chance to win. And other guys can feel that. And I'll never, ever forget what a wise man once told me a while back. He said, the other guys in the locker room, they know. They can tell who should be starting. And if you don't start the right guy, if you're playing a guy and the rest of the locker room knows this isn't the guy that gives us the best chance to win, the locker room will turn on you and you'll never get them back. So Rivera's no dummy. He's been in a locker room before as a player. He's been in the locker room as a coach. He knows. He knows. He said he saw the look on the sidelines of the faces of players. He's seen that look before. He knows. Can't risk losing the entire locker room just to save one guy. So I find it funny that tonight I asked the question. The name of the show is it still Ron's playing? Ron's playing. And you know what's funny is I've been looking around on different socials trying to gauge the pulse of Washington football nation, if you will, and see what the family is saying out there in the streets. And it's mixed, man. A lot of people have turned on old Ron. You know, the first comment I see when I turn on the stream, you know, is from Black Dollar. and you can read the comment, you know, and I can do nothing but laugh. F Ron and his damn plan. Enough said. Enough said. I've got super chats to get to. I don't want any smoke. I don't want to miss any of these super chats. So we'll get to these super chats and then we'll continue to chop it up tonight. But let's get to wow, that is some dedication right there. Anyhow, Santiago Tredell. It's been a while since we've chopped it up, Santiago. How you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. I knew you had some underlying issues and some things that you needed to stay extra safe from COVID. I hope you and your family are doing well. Santiago Tredell writes, I am just disappointed, Lou, that they did not bench Troy and Haskins is getting benched for the quarterback. He beat out last year and ultimately got Ron fired. So here's the thing. Thank you first and foremost for the super chat, Santiago Tredell. So here's the thing. When you talk about Apke, I've already made it a point to say this multiple times. Who are you going to put in if you bench Troy Apke? You can put in. And, you know, everyone keeps saying, well, you just put in Cameron Curl. They're not the same player. They don't do the same things. Cameron Curl is a guy that they're using as a nickel and more as a dime backer. Okay, he's down in the box a ton, near the line of scrimmage, and he's playing as an extra box defender, essentially, a lot of times. He's a really aggressive safety that they like as a box type of safety and a nickel defender. They don't love him as a free safety. He doesn't have the athleticism that Troy Apke possesses. Now, athleticism isn't everything. There has to be some level of angles. There has to be some bit of being able to read the eyes of the quarterback, get a read as to where the ball is going, get a jump. And, you know, some of those things Apke is lacking right now, but, you know, they keep chalking it up to inexperience. I can tell you he's making a lot of the same damn mistakes we saw early in the season. I just finished the first half of the Ravens defensive breakdown, and the second half I'm pretty much done with, and I just got to put the finishing touches on. And I saw him get blown by, and it's the same mistake that he made against Arizona, and I pointed this out in the film. It's the same damn mistake he made against the Cardinals when Andy Isabella ran by him for a 50-some-plus yard gain. So it's not the whole he's not making the same mistakes. That's my biggest thing is mistakes are going to be made. Shit happens. What do you do when you make that mistake? How do you learn from it? Do you repeat those mistakes or do you allow those mistakes to make you better? Haven't necessarily seen that from Troy Apke, but what are you going to do? Let me tell you something else. Troy Apke plays safety. Safety. Not quarterback. Safety. So Troy Apke could make 30 mistakes in a game. You may only find out about one or two of them because they only two of them result in big plays. You may find out about none of them. Troy Apke could make 7 mistakes in a game, and you find out about 0 of them because Lamar Jackson overthrows one guy, and so you're willing to sweep that one under the rug. And then he takes a poor angle or he falls asleep behind the wheel on another route, and a guy's running wide open, and he just doesn't get the football. It happens. You can hide a safety that isn't very good or is making a bunch of mistakes. Eventually, it's going to come to light. Teams are going to find your weakness and exploit it. It's only a matter of time. However, I just told you that a guy can make 30 mistakes in a game and you are only aware of 1 or 2 of them. Dwayne can't make 30 mistakes in a game. You'll know about every single one of them. So it's a different position. The quarterback position is the most important position in all of sports, not just in the NFL, not just in football, but in sports. And so there's a stark contrast between Dwayne Haskins and Troy Apke. But at the end of the day, I wore this hat to the front tonight for one specific reason. This R doesn't stand for Redskins. This R stands for Ron, as in Ron Rivera. It's still Ron's playing. Ron's playing. For me, at least. I can't speak for some of you out there because I've read some of the comments. I heard your jokes, okay? I read some of your comments. Y'all like, nah, we ain't down with Ron. Some of y'all have turned on Ron. That is your prerogative. I told you, I don't tell other family members how to feel. But I'm still repping Ron. It's always Ron's plan. Till he gives me a bona fide reason not to believe, I still believe. And there have been some questionable decisions made thus far. I know why he's doing what he's doing. We talked about this all last week. That's why this shouldn't be a surprise to you. We talked about this all last week, specifically Thursday and Friday last week. I made it a point to start off this show talking about, and Ron told you Ron is a straight shooter. He told us in his presser, his one presser that he had at the end of the week. He had one on Monday and one on Friday or Thursday. I think it was Thursday. And Ron specifically told us, hey man, this division is kind of changing some things. You know, we were looking at it one way. Shit's turning out a different way. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. We didn't know that Ron had this whole plan in his mind, and I guess it was Ron's plan, that he wanted the team to be 2-2. He keeps saying 2-4, but he meant 2-2 after the first 4 games. And had Dwayne won on Sunday, he'd still be starting. If he would have won against Cleveland, that was the one he needed to win. That's where he effed up. If he'd beat Cleveland, he wouldn't have been in this position. I guess. I digress. Let's keep it pushing. Thank you for the super chat. Santiago Trudell, you're not the only person that is disappointed about this decision. I know a lot of fans that are very disappointed. Quentin Ruiz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Quentin. Quentin writes, Dwayne looked like Vic in practice, but Jamarcus Russell in games. Ouch. He didn't look that bad. Okay, he didn't look that bad. But he was a guy that I thought he was playing scared this year. And I don't know where I said it. I don't know if I said it on film. I think I said it on my film breakdown. And I kind of laid out how I feel about Dwayne this year and how he's playing the quarterback position. I'm pretty sure I did it on the film breakdown. I know I did because I'm thinking about one of the plays that Dwayne last year would have made a play, and Dwayne this year just a deer in headlights. So there's a stark contrast, man. I'm telling you, I'll be dropping some gems on your melon on these film breakdowns. Some stuff that I don't say anywhere else. I say it on these film breakdowns because as I'm watching it, it's raw emotion as I'm watching it. Because I've seen the game multiple times, but film is different than watching the game. Because you see everything with clear eyes when you watch the film. And then you get my raw emotion, and then shit just starts blurting out. And I start getting diarrhea of the mouth, and I tell you exactly how I feel. And there are some things that I've stated in the film that I think are really spot on. They're poignant, and they're spot on. But he didn't look that bad. He wasn't Jamarcus Russell bad. I won't do him like that. Thank you for the super chat. Quentin Ruiz. Got another one here from Samuel Hatley. Thank you for the super chat, Samuel, who writes, "Hey, LT, a lot of us are upset about the benching of Dwayne Haskins, but honestly, I'm glad we have a coach that is willing to make tough decisions in order to win more." So one of the things I've seen with Ron that I like, and then there's something else that I don't like. The thing that I do like, because I like starting with dessert. We'll save the vegetables for later. I like the fact that Ron has conviction, and when he believes in something, he goes with it. And, sometimes you can have conviction in something that is dead ass wrong. And I think Ron's one of those guys that if it's wrong, he'll say, hey, I was wrong about that. Thought Kyle Allen could come in and play better. I was wrong. We're going to roll with Alex Smith now. We'll see. But I like the fact that he's got conviction now. Just because you have conviction doesn't mean conviction can go wrong. Trust me. Because conviction can also be, hey, you're wrong. You know you're wrong, but because you have such strong convictions, you refuse to acknowledge that you're wrong and you keep pressing forward with the wrong thing. I think he thought that Dwayne was going to play better. He had convictions that he would. It didn't work out. I like that he said, hey, scrap that plan that I had initially. Division looks totally different. We're going to go in a different direction. And to me, that's what he should have said at his presser today. Instead of making the situation kind of murky and having to answer questions 19 different ways, he should have just said, hey, look, I told you guys before the season started that this was a rebuilding year. This was a process year, that we were going to go about this in a process-like manner, and that everyone was going to be evaluated this year, and that, we want to win games, but at the end of the day, it's about evaluating these players and letting these young guys go out and play, and that included Dwayne. However, and he said this, but he didn't say this the way he needed to say it. But I told you guys this before Ron even said this out of his mouth. I told you what Ron was thinking. I said, had this division been led by 3-1 Philly and 3-1 Dallas, he used the example of 4-0 Dallas, 3-1 Philly. I told you if this was 3-1 Dallas, 3-1 Philly, and we're sitting here at 1-3, he would have been like, to hell with the division. We ain't good enough to win it no damn way. And that was the thought process going into the season. What ultimately happens is he looks up, Philly's 1-2-1, Dallas is 1-3, the Giants are 0-4, and he's like, look, man, we got a shot. And if we could get better play out of the quarterback position, we'd probably be 2-2 right now. At worst, maybe 3-1 right now. I don't know necessarily if that would be the case, but I know what they're thinking. That's the thought process. Ron's willing to make the tough decision. The easy thing would have been to just stick with Dwayne. So to your point, Sam, yeah, this is a tough decision. There was going to be scrutiny and backlash. And Ron was very irked at his presser because he was being asked the same question 17 different ways. And while he was answering it, the answer wasn't satisfactory enough to some. So the question kept being asked. And so he felt like he was repeating himself, and he started to get a little frustrated. So he could have avoided all of that and just said Dwayne's going to start against the Rams, and that would have been it. But he said, no, I think we got a chance to do something here, and I think the guy to do it is Kyle Allen. We'll see. He said, I could be wrong. We're going to find out. I love how everybody's dumping on this roster, though. My man Derek B has been dumping on the roster for the last, let's call it a week strong. And everybody else was dumping on the roster before the season started. We had these conversations in the offseason when people were saying our receiving core was, dead last in the league, and that our running backs position was, and this was with AD, was like 29th. People were talking about our skill positions way before the season started. So this is not new news to some of you. But I was one of the people who was saying, hey, it's not as bad as everybody thinks. And then a couple of weeks in, I was like, not a lot of talent. I remember when we signed Dontrell Inman, I was like, man, it ain't looking too good talent-wise. After watching the film and seeing what this team has been able to do and some of the guys that they've been able to put in positions to succeed, I'm telling you, we've got enough stuff. And they believe it too. That's why Ron sounded so convincing at the presser today. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Thank you for the super chat, Samuel. Rob U, thank you for the super chat. As always, Rob U, greatly appreciate you, Rob U, who writes, what up, Lou? Could you see Jameis Winston as a starter here next year? No. I think Jameis is where he's supposed to be, in New Orleans. And I can't see Jameis Winston being here. Look, Ron saw Jameis Winston up close and personal for many years in Tampa Bay as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. I'm pretty sure he was not impressed with what he saw. So we haven't seen Jameis, unlike Teddy Bridgewater in New Orleans, where you got to see him a couple of times. He was like, hey, man, Teddy not half bad. We haven't seen Jameis, and barring some kind of unforeseen circumstances, we won't see Jameis. So you don't know if he's cured of all of his turnover ills, which he's not. He's a gunslinger. And when dudes are like that, it's embedded in them. It's ingrained in them. It doesn't go away. He's a risk taker. Risk takers take risks and make mistakes, and they also make plays. So, no, I don't see Jameis Winston coming here. Thank you for the super chat, Rob U. Got another one here from Jordan Like the GOAT. Thank you for the super chat, Jordan Like the GOAT, who writes, didn't think it would happen so soon. I blame Snyder. I didn't think it would happen this soon either, but again, I didn't think the division would be this bad. Never in a million years thought that we'd be talking about the NFC East as the NFC least again. I knew we weren't going to be very good. I knew the Giants weren't going to be very good. I could not account for Dallas and Philadelphia being funky as well. Like, I didn't realize this, but the Rams are 3-1. You know why the Rams are 3-1? Because they've played our entire division. Sans for us, and they'll check that final box on Sunday. So essentially, if the Rams beat us, when the Rams beat us, if the Rams beat us, they'll be 4-1 on the season, having swept the NFC East. Whoopity-doo! I mean, seriously. As good as I thought the Rams were playing, I didn't even think about that. That didn't even sink in. I thought the Dallas win was impressive. I thought the Philadelphia win week 2 was impressive initially. Now looking back, Dallas can't stop a nosebleed. Philadelphia stinks. And I'm saying to myself, we know the Giants are trash. And the Giants, coincidentally enough, was the team that really pushed them to the limit. I mean, you could say Dallas did as well. That game came down to an offensive pass interference call that was controversial, but it was 10-9 in the fourth quarter. Which is why Ron Rivera is looking around and saying, man, we can beat these boys. They're not all that good. We'll see. We'll find out. And you should blame Snyder for this because the guys in the building running the draft, they didn't want Dwayne. They didn't want Dwayne. I just found this out the other day. I forget what I was listening to. I think I was listening to the Kevin Sheehan Show podcast. And Chris Cooley was talking. And like I said, I'm behind on the podcast. For those of you who also listen to that podcast, I'm way behind. So I'm hearing stuff for the first time that you probably heard 2-3 weeks ago. I'm still playing catch up. And so I didn't know that they were in love with Darnell Savage out of Maryland. And that he would have been the pick. If it were up to Kyle Smith, he would have been the pick at 15. Not Dwayne. And that, potentially they might have doubled back and gotten Montez Sweat still. Or maybe Montez Sweat would have been the pick at 15. But it wasn't going to be Dwayne. The only reason that they doubled back in the first round was to appease all of the draft people who had done all of this work the entire year, because essentially Snyder came and vetoed everyone's opinions and said, to hell with what y'all talking about, to hell with what your board says. We're taking Dwayne Haskins at 15. And everybody's like, but then they're like, shh. We're taking Dwayne Haskins at 15. Tell you what I'll do, though. Since I'm such a nice guy and I'm a great owner, you can jump back in the first round, do whatever you need to do, trade whatever picks you need to, jump back in the first round and get the guy that you were going to take at 15. That guy happened to be Montez Sweat. They took him. The rest is history. So they didn't want Dwayne, though. Jay Gruden didn't want Dwayne. I don't think that Kevin O'Connell wanted Dwayne. I know Kyle Smith did not want Dwayne, but he ended up here. And I was hoping that it worked. And I talked about this ad nauseum on my podcast today, that I don't think he's going to be the guy moving forward. They can sit here and give us lip service about how Dwayne needs to sit and learn and that this is going to be a great experience for him. He's not in the fire anymore. He didn't get enough time in the offseason, yada, 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 yada. That sounds good. But at the end of the day, when you strip all of that down and you analyze this situation and you get to the core and the heart of this whole ordeal, Ron Rivera and Scott Turner didn't draft Dwayne Haskins. They inherited him. This wasn't their guy. Ron didn't take this job because Dwayne Haskins was here and he was eager and excited to work with this young second-year quarterback. That's not why Ron took this job. Ron took this job because he saw a defense that he thought he could shape and mold and turn this thing around quickly. And not to mention, the number 2 pick in the draft belonged to Washington, and he knew he was going to be able to select Chase Young. He saw him as a cornerstone franchise player, and he said, this defense is going to be tremendous with 1 or 2 more pieces after I draft Chase Young. He saw Jonathan Allen. He saw Daron Payne. He saw Montez Sweat. He said, I'm going to add Chase Young to the mix. I like Cole Holcomb. Think there's a future for him. There's some stuff that I can work with here. Give me 2 seasons, 2 off seasons to get some more pieces in here. This defense is going to be elite. It wasn't because of Dwayne Haskins. You can sit here and tell me about the Detroit game from last. He was terrible in the Detroit game. Yeah, he made some plays at the end. I will grant you that. He was terrible in that game. He made plays when plays had to be made. I will grant you that. But don't talk to me. If you're going to point to a game last year, it's the Giants game. It's the Eagles game. It's not the Lions game. So I knew he didn't take this job for Dwayne. He inherited Dwayne. And now this is a situation where he's got a guy that's not living up to what they need him to live up to, and they're willing to move on from him. And I don't know if they're ever coming back to Dwayne. I seriously don't. I'd be shocked if they don't draft a quarterback in the first round next year. I'd be shocked at this point. Thank you for the super chat. Jordan like the GOAT. Got another super chat. This one is from Extra Squaw. Greatly appreciate you, Extra Squaw. who writes, I'm sorry, but there is something behind the scenes we don't know about Dwayne's benching. He played terrible, but third string, I don't know. I love when these types of stories come out and stuff like this happens, because it's only, well, I won't say it's only here, but here in particular, we start making up things and we start trying to draw conclusions from inferences and things of that nature. We start trying to draw inferences from, secondary and ancillary stories. And there was an ancillary story that kind of snuck under the radar. This would have been a much bigger deal if Dwayne doesn't get benched. But I took a gander at a story today that said one of the quarterbacks in the quarterback room has COVID-19 antibodies in their system, meaning they've had COVID-19 before at some point. I don't know who it is. The article didn't say. Rivera just said, I'm trying to keep that guy away from everyone else as much as possible. It could easily be the practice squad quarterback, all right, Steven Montez, for all we know. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but that's another theory out there. People are just grasping at straws at this point. So there's so much stuff going on right now. I don't know, man. It's crazy, but that was the curveball. I told you at the top of the show. That was the thing that threw me for a loop, was the fact that Dwayne went from 1 to 3. I just thought the natural progression is, hey, he's the number 2 guy. If Kyle struggles or gets injured, Dwayne's going back in. But he's like, nah, we already went down that road before. If Kyle struggles, we're going to Alex, because we know Alex is a veteran and he can get us through some ball games. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Extra Squaw. Greatly appreciate you. Got another super chat. This one is from Santiago Tredell, who writes, first of all, double up. Thank you for doubling up, Santiago Tredell. Greatly appreciate you. Santiago writes, what about Landon Collins' terrible play this season or this year? What about it? He hasn't been good. Simply put, a lot of missed tackles, some brain farts in coverage, just some lapses in concentration. When you think about a lapse in concentration, you think about the Cardinals' first touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins in the back of the end zone. Dude, what are you doing? He has not tackled well is an understatement. That's putting it mildly thus far. He's been horrendous as a tackler, and that's supposed to be the one thing that he does do well. He actually hasn't been terrible in coverage this year. It's been his tackling. He sees it. He just doesn't make the play. So, yeah, Landon Collins has been a bit of a disappointment for me this year, but I'm not giving up on Landon Collins. I know the guy is talented, and I'm hoping that at some point he flips a switch, gets his act together, starts playing the football that we know he's capable of, because I actually thought he played well last year. On a defense that wasn't very good, I actually thought he was one of the few guys that actually stood out. This year, he hasn't really been one of those core guys you can rely on week in and week out. His play has been spotty at best. Thank you for that super chat and doubling up, Santiago Tredell. Got another one here from DMV Fan 123. Thank you for the super chat, DMV Fan 123, who writes, sounds like it's a hashtag tank for Trevor season, sigh. Now, that's the narrative that I don't understand. When people say things like that, I don't understand. When I hear, we going 1-15 now, I don't get that. I never thought that was our fate anyway. You know that. Even if Dwayne continued to start, I never thought that was going to be our fate anyway. However, if Ron, think about this. Just let this sink in for a second. I mean, just think critically. I'm just asking you to think critically for a second. Okay? If Ron wanted to lose games, do you think he would put Alex Smith and or Kyle Allen in? A guy that knows, and one guy that knows the offense better than the other two quarterbacks. And a guy that is a veteran and we know is capable of winning 10, 11, 12, 13 games in a season, just can't win you a playoff game? Or would you stick with the young quarterback that needs experience, that continues to make mistakes, and continues to keep the offense anemic? Which one makes more sense if you're looking to lose football games and go 1-15? I'm just asking the question. I'm just trying to make sense out of some of the comments that I'm hearing from people. If they didn't want to win, you just keep Dwayne in. And if he wins, cool. If he doesn't, you just chalk it up to a team trying to learn and Dwayne getting experience. But obviously, he does want to win. Because if he didn't, you just leave Dwayne in the game. He's doing a really quality job of making sure that this offense is below average. So, like I said, Ron wants to win, and I don't know if Kyle Allen is the answer. I'm not going to sit here and say that Kyle Allen is trash, because I saw him play last year. He's got some poise, some moxie to him. He's willing to take risks, something that Dwayne hasn't been willing to do this year. And in order to make plays in the passing game, sometimes you have to take risk. And Dwayne just refuses to do that right now. But I also saw Kyle Allen struggle, but he's a young guy, just like Dwayne. You make mistakes. He got a lot of his growing pains, hopefully, out of the way last year. He started 12 games last year. He started 13 total. So you're hoping that this is Kirk Cousins in 2015 that we're about to get. And I know for some of you, you don't want to hear that. But remember, Kirk got benched back in 2014 for Colt McCoy. You're hoping that this is Kirk Cousins reincarnated in 2015 with Kyle Allen here, where he comes in, plays good football, all of a sudden we start winning games and we win a division. That's what happened in 2015. Who's to say it doesn't happen in 2020? We'll see. But this isn't a tank for Trevor situation. Thank you for the super chat, DMV fan 123. Atlas013, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Atlas013, who writes, if Allen turns it on and we win the division, do we stick with him? He's 24. He knows the system. It's his second year. Draft him weapons? Question mark. Look, that's the unknown commodity right now, is because Kyle Allen could come in. He could play well, not really wow you, but well enough to win this division at, say, 7-9. This division stinks. So if you sweep the division, which is still on the table for us, that's 6 wins right there. All you got to do is beat one more team outside of the division. Let's say you go 8-8. This division has never been won with a record of below 500. At 5, it's never been won with a record below 500. So let's go with 8-8 for the sake of keeping the tradition alive. You sweep the division, all you got to do is win 2 games outside the division. All you got to do is find a way to beat a Carolina or a Cincinnati or a Detroit. Let's say he does that. You win 8 games, you get a home playoff game. He's okay, but he's not great. Do you pass on a quarterback? You're not going to be drafting in the top. If you win 8 games, you're drafting at 20, 21. You make the playoffs. If you win your division, you make the playoffs. And let's say you get bounced in the first round in wild card weekend. You're 21, you're 22 in the draft. You have to take a quarterback still. Maybe that's Jamie Newman at that point. Maybe you trade up and get a guy that you love. If he plays really well, let's go with your premise though. He plays really well. He knocks it out of the park. He turns this thing around. We go 9-7 this year. Whoa. Yeah. Kyle Allen's the guy. Because guess what? 9-7 puts you at the 23rd, 24th pick in the draft. If you make the playoffs, you win the division. So you're not in let's draft a quarterback territory unless, again, you want to pull a Kansas City Chiefs or a Houston Texans and you want to trade up to get your guy. Like the Texans did for Watson, like the Chiefs did for Mahomes. But guess what? They waited until that quarterback fell to number 10 in the case of Mahomes. Or fell to number, 12 or 13 in the case of Watson. Like, they didn't come up to 3, 4, or 5, which is what it's going to take to get one of those elite guys. So, I think the move, if Allen plays well, the move is All right, let's build around Kyle Allen. See what he's got. I know that's not what the fan base wants to hear, but if Kyle Allen learned some hard-earned lessons last year and sitting actually did him some good, and he comes back and he's Kirk Cousins for us, which I know you don't want to hear, but Kirk set a bunch of Washington football team records in 2015, won us the division, should have won a playoff game versus the Green Bay Packers. If he's that, you start drafting weapons. You don't look to draft a quarterback. We're getting ahead of ourselves, though, because Kyle Allen has to come in and he's got to play really well, and he can't stink it up like he did last year. He played really well initially. I think the Panthers were like 5-0. And then reality set in. He lost his last 7 starts, and he was funky, including Washington going to Carolina and spanking him up. So, we'll see. That's a really intriguing question, though, Atlas013. Thank you for the super chat. Got another super chat. This one is from Brendan McCloskey. Thank you for the super chat, Brendan. Brendan writes, it's just disappointing. Another failed first-round pick under Snyder. Shaking my head. Sell the team, Dan. It's not going to happen, Brendan. Don't hold your breath. Just read an article a week or two ago in which he said, I want to pass this organization down to my kids. So if there was ever any doubt, if there was just this little shred of hope that, hey, maybe Dan might just sell on his own. No. And I didn't think that was going to happen anyway. You know, Kevin Sheehan over the summer kept saying, I think Dan's going to sell, ultimately going to sell. You know, I don't think Dan is going any goddamn way. The only way Dan is gone is if the NFL steps in and says, all right, enough's enough. We tired of your shit. You got to go. Pack your shit and go. It's not going to happen. But yeah, another failed first round pick. Add that to the list. It's a graveyard. Add it to the list of all of the failed firsts, seconds, thirds that this organization has had over the last 10, 15 years. It'll fit right in. You won't even notice. Throw them in the first round quarterback morgue with J Cam and P Ram and all of those dudes. Robert Griffin III. Just throw them in the morgue with all the rest of the first round quarterbacks we've taken over the years. You won't even notice. He'll be a skeleton in 5 years. Okay? You won't even notice. Thank you for the super chat, Brendan McCloskey. 61 Livy, thank you for the super chat. 61 Livy, greatly appreciate you. 61 Livy writes, what up, Louie? Hey, so I have a few friends in D.C. that called me saying Washington front office wanted a white QB in. Think there's any truth to that? Nah. I mean, first of all, the last 19 quarterbacks here that they've drafted have been black. Like if any organization was pushing the agenda of let's get a brother in here, it's Washington. Whether you go all the way back to J-Cam back in 2005. All right. They've tried to get a brother in here bad. You go to McNabb when they traded for him back in 2009. They've tried to get a brother in here desperately. Or was that 2010 for McNabb? I think that was 2010. All right. Then you go to Robert Griffin III in 2012. Now you go to Dwayne. They've tried to get brothers in here. So I don't think this is a front office, and Dan has been here for all of it. So I don't think this is a race thing. I don't think this has anything to do with race. They just can't get it right. Period. So for whatever that's worth, tell your friends in D.C. this isn't a race thing. All right. Got another super chat. This one is from Rob U. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Rob U. Greatly appreciate you. Rob U, who writes, why has Sean Dion Hamilton been invisible? Because he hasn't played well. Actually been really disappointed with Sean Dion on film. He was bad in week 1. Remember the linebackers weren't great in week 1 and everybody noticed? And, you know, all the focus was on Kevin Pierre-Louis because Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera, they kept singing the praises of KPL. So everybody wanted to focus on KPL, and he got beat by Dallas Goedert for the touchdown, and it was apparent that he was the one that got beat. And so all the focus was on KPL. But what you didn't know is that Sean Dion was awful in that game. So much so that he rarely played the following week versus Arizona. Now, it's a different team, different scheme, different formations that the Cardinals are putting on the field, but he wasn't out there very much in week 2. And he's been okay. He wasn't as bad this past week as he was in week 1, but he hasn't been good. I've been somewhat disappointed because I thought he was ready to take that next step. I thought he was fully healthy now, and he was going to get an opportunity to play, and he was going to make the most of it. And I just haven't seen that from Sean Dion. Frankly, our linebackers haven't made enough plays. It's period. KPL is decent. John Bostic is a backup linebacker. We don't have any ballers at linebacker right now. We just got guys. Now, they're athletically gifted. They can run. But, again, you need playmakers at the linebacker position. It's imperative to at least have one. I don't know if we have any. So, we'll see. But that's why Sean Dion has been invisible. Thank you for the super chat, Rob U. 61 Livy. Thank you again for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. 61 Livy. Greatly appreciate you. 61 Livy writes, off topic, I know, but what do you think the penalty should be for the Titans clearly breaking COVID protocols? I told you I would have there's no postponement of games. You test positive for COVID and you have an outbreak. If you got one guy like the Patriots had with Cam Newton, then you isolate that one guy, you get him the hell out of there, and you move forward. Like they did with the Patriots. You have multiple guys test positive? Oh, that's a forfeit. I'm not going to penalize the Steelers and force them to alter their schedule this year because you effed up. I talked about this on the podcast already. So I don't want to really get into it because I've already done this whole spiel. But I'm not penalizing other teams for your misgivings because you didn't follow the rules. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You are going to be penalized. You just lost the game. You're now 3-1. You can't play next week versus Buffalo. You're 3-2. That's how I would handle that. Not, I don't want to dock them draft picks. I don't want to fine them. No, hit them where it hurts. In the loss column. They'll hear that shit loud and clear. So that's personally what I would have done. Thank you for the super chat, 61 Livy. Got another super chat. This one is from King of the North. Thank you for the super chat, King of the North. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North writes, what needs to happen now to convince the fans this is the right move by Ron? Wins? Kyle playing well? I think the D will play better if they feel Kyle gives them a better chance for a W. So you're essentially asking me, how does Ron get the validation that he seeks? We all want validation. I told you. I seek validation. We all want it. You make a declaration, you then seek validation. That's how this works. Ron is going out on the limb and saying that Dwayne wasn't, and this is why Ron wants more validation for this than anything else. You want to know why? Because everyone keeps telling Ron, you don't have enough talent on this team. You should have heard how many times the reporter said, there's not enough talent on this team. You got a team with not enough this and not enough that, and you're going to bench Dwayne? And I could hear the anger building in Ron's voice like, did this mother effer just say again that we don't have no? He said, God damn it, we going to play with the players we got. And we going to see if we don't have no talent on the team. So I think for nothing else other than you keep saying we don't have talent. How about maybe it's just the quarterback? I keep telling y'all on film, it's not as bad as you think. How many times have I told you that? Hey, it's not as bad as you think. This offensive line, not as bad. Remember that year? We thought the offensive line was terrible. Couldn't block. Robert Griffin III is getting tossed around like a rag doll. His offensive lineman won't even help him up off the ground. And we kept saying, man, this line is terrible, man. These guys are horrible. They put Kirk in. They put in Colt McCoy, and all of a sudden the offensive line magically was fixed. Oh my God, we're not getting sacked 8 times every game. What is going on? Where was this? How did this massive change happen overnight? Now, I'm not saying Dwayne is holding on to the ball like Robert was back in 2013 and 2014. It's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is there's been this big topic, this narrative about how there's no talent on this team. It's Terry, and maybe it's Gibson, and everybody else stinks. That's not true. No, we don't have elite players. That's a fact. Okay? You have Terry as one player that potentially is elite. You got Gibson as another player that looks to be ascending. Steven Sims is a guy that I still have an abundance of confidence in, even though he's been banged up this season. But I think the guys that you have, they give you enough to get the job done. I feel that way. And when you watch the film, you see guys open and you're like, man, that's a good job of scheming it up by Scott. I told you this. I think I told you this last week. It might have been the week before. And it was funny. I was listening to Scott Turner's presser today. And it made me go back to one of the shows that we had. And I told you, Scott Turner, and it obviously was a Wednesday show, whether it was last Wednesday or the Wednesday before that. And I told you what Scott Turner kind of was saying without saying it. They asked him, hey, do you think that you need to, do some different things to try to get guys free or get the ball in your playmakers' hands? And Scott was looking like, ain't shit wrong with my play calling, honey. Because I think it was a female that asked the question. He's like, ain't shit wrong with my play calling. And he didn't say it like that, obviously. He did a buttoned up job of saying, we got to do different, But if you read between the lines, he's like, look, ain't shit wrong with my play calls, man. You watch the film, shit's open. I'm actually doing a pretty goddamn good job, if I may say so myself. Shit's open. I'm not the problem. I'm going to just say that. I'm not the problem. I told you he pretty much said that. And he doubled down on that at the presser today. Because people keep bringing this narrative to the forefront that we don't have any talent. I think the validation that Ron is seeking is that Kyle plays well. Yeah, winning that's the only way you validate this. Kyle can play well, but if we still lose, people are going to say, well, you could have had Dwayne and we still losing. So that's not going to get it done. You got to win. Kyle's got to play well, and they've got to win games. But I think above that, Ron wants to say, I told you it wasn't the talent on this team. Y'all keep talking to me about we don't have this, we don't have that. I told you it wasn't the talent on this team. Dwayne he said this 15 times in the presser. Dwayne's got the same guys that Kyle is going to be playing with on Sunday. He said that 15 times. He said it 15 times for a reason. Thanks for the super chat, King of the North. Got another super chat. This one is from Farrah Cody. Thank you for the super chat, Farrah Cody, who writes, we wouldn't have Terry if it wasn't for Dwayne, LOL. We got Terry because Dwayne said he could bring him here. Dwayne isn't responsible for bringing anybody here. They drafted Terry because they liked Terry on film. Well, I'll grant you this. They only discovered Terry, really, because they went to scout Dwayne, and Terry stood out. But if they wanted Terry, they would have gotten Terry. But they got Terry because they went to watch Dwayne. And Terry jumped in. They had like 3 or 4 guys that were, injured or couldn't work out or whatever the case could be. And Terry jumped in for everybody. He knew all the spots. He ran crisp routes, caught everything, and they were impressed. And that's how Terry became a Washington football team member. But, if you leave it up to the players, Robert Griffin III would have had the organization draft Terrence Williams, if you remember that. His teammate from Baylor. So, now, there's a little bit of credence to what you just said, because without them going to scout Dwayne, there is no Terry. Because I think they fell in love with Terry the day that they went to Ohio State to work Dwayne out, and Terry was there, and he impressed them. So, thank you for that super chat, Farrah Cody. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one from Protect Sports Thank you for the super chat. Protect Sports, greatly appreciate you. If y'all haven't already subbed my man Tones up, go ahead and sub his channel up and show him some love over at Protect Sports. Tone writes, they never wanted DH7. They will draft a guy, 100. Like I said, I said this on my podcast, and I said it very passionately. They never wanted. Ron never necessarily, I don't think he had a problem with Dwayne. He didn't have a problem with Dwayne. But that wasn't the reason he took the job. He didn't take the job because of Dwayne Haskins. He took the job because they held the number 2 pick in the draft, and they already had a defense that he thought had a lot of talent on it, especially the defensive line. That's why Ron took this job. He didn't take this job because Dwayne Haskins was under center and he was so impressed with his Detroit performance last year. That sounded like a guy to me, personally. But I wanted to believe. That sounded like a guy that was trying to psych himself up to like Dwayne. That Detroit game, if that's the game you're basing your like for Dwayne off of, I'm sorry, I can't get with it. I just can't. And, you know, as much as I was rooting for Dwayne, and I hate this for Dwayne, I do. But I saw a lot of things that I don't know if it was going to ever change. I'm you know what I am? I'm relieved. I got an analogy that I don't think is appropriate that I would like to share with you, but I'm not going to because I don't think it's appropriate. But that's how I feel right now. And I'll just say this. Ron did me a huge solid. Ron took me out back, and my hope for Dwayne, he put 2 in the dome of that. Bow, bow. Put a silencer on the end of that thing, and it was nice and quiet. It was quick, and that's gone. I'm done. All right. I was fighting a good fight with Dwayne, but when you watch the film, it's hard to keep fighting a good fight every week when you're seeing the same shit over and over again, and you're saying, this can't work. This can't work. Not if things don't change. And nothing that Dwayne has done in these first 4 games leads you to believe that it's going to change. That's the thing that's disheartening. I think you're right. I think they do draft another guy. I feel pretty confident in saying that as we sit here on October 7th. Now, that is subject to change. Kyle Allen could stink. Alex Smith could get in. He could stink. And all of a sudden, Dwayne's back in there and he's playing better. But I've already given you why I feel he does better in those situations on the film as well. So if you've watched the film, you know why I feel like he plays better in those situations. And that's not a good thing either. Got another super chat. This one from King in the North. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, King of the North. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I think the move to third string could be punishment for something, but it definitely makes it look like Ron is not going to play Dwayne again. I don't know if it's punishment for anything. I don't know if Ron is that petty to on some Jay Gruden shit. You know, when Jay would be petty and do little stupid shit like, you know, make Adrian Peterson inactive. I don't think that's what this is, because Jay was mad because they cut Samaje Perine and that was Jay's way of making a statement. Like, I don't think this is that. I just think he's like, yo, I don't want to have to go back to Dwayne. Period. I've seen enough. I'm good. I want to draft my own guy. If Kyle Allen doesn't prove to be much better, I want to draft my own guy next year. And the way that I stop myself from having the keys to draft my own guy next year is to put Dwayne back in. And then in some garbage time games at the end of the season, he looks more like the Dwayne at the end of last season than the Dwayne we got at the beginning of this season. And then everybody's saying, hey, you got to give Dwayne a chance. And maybe he really does get better if you just keep playing him. And in Ron's mind, he's thinking, no, he's not going to get better. I want my own guy. So to eliminate that from taking place, you make him the third quarterback. Now he's not even close to getting in the game. That's how you put that to bed. So I think that it's more of that and less of a punishment for Dwayne. Thank you for the super chat, King of the North. Got another super chat here. This one is from Protect Sports. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Protect Sports. Greatly appreciate you. My man Tones writes, drafting Lance 2021 or trading for a vet. It really just boils down to where we are in the draft. Because let's say that we end up being 5-11 this year. 5-11 could get you right on the cusp of the top 10. You could be anywhere from 9 to 11 at 5-11. Maybe even 8 at 5-11. All right. So when you look at the landscape of the NFL right now, there are a lot of bad football teams. So if you think 5-11 is going to get you to, 4 or 5, you're wrong. Because there are at least 3 winless teams in the league right now. The Jets, the Giants, and the Texans are all winless right now. And I don't know when any of those teams are getting wins. So there's some bad football teams out there. The Jags, I don't know. They've been playing competitive football, but they don't win. You could be as competitive as you want, but at the end of the day, if you keep stacking up losses, then they're going to pile up. I don't know how good they are. Obviously, our division is horrid. Maybe the Eagles and the Cowboys get their ish together. But, when you look around the league at the landscape of the NFL, I think Detroit's going to stink. I don't think they're a very good team. Minnesota, we'll see. They look like they're figuring some stuff out. I'm not banking on them, though. We'll see. But at the end of the day, I think 5-11 gets you somewhere in that 8. Let's stretch it out a little bit. 8 to 11 range. If you're in that range, you're within striking distance of getting whatever quarterback you want in the draft. You can get all the way to number 1 if you like from 8. Now, it might take you a whole hell of a lot. But if you want that guy bad enough, you'll do what it takes. But let's say you're cool with Trey Lance, as you said. And maybe Trey Lance ultimately ends up being the 3rd quarterback taken in the draft behind Lawrence and Justin Fields. I think he could go 2nd right now as it stands. But Lance, unlike Fields, he's only played 1 game this year. And he's got limited playing experience. Whereas Justin Fields is going to play some more games this year at Ohio State. And he may get better. And he may look even better than he did last season. And that might seal it up for him as the number 2 prospect in this draft. We'll see. But let's say that after Fields, it's Lance, and that's the guy you want. And he is going to take the 5th pick overall. You're going to have to go up to 5 to get him. Maybe you got to go up to 3 or 4 to get him. That's doable from 8 or 9. But if Kyle Allen comes in here, a combination of Kyle Allen and Alex Smith, whatever, gets you to 7, you're not in the ballpark anymore. And in order to get up there to get your guy, you're going to have to do some serious maneuvering, and it's going to cost you a lot of draft capital. Some serious draft capital. But the name of the game is get it right at the quarterback position. So whatever that costs you, you got to be willing to pay that price. You think the Chiefs aren't happy that they came all the way from like 27 to 10 to get Mahomes? You think they won't pay that price 20 times over to do that? Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but they were confident then when they made the move to move all the way up from 27 to 10. I think they'd feel even more confident about doing it again now that they know what they know about Mahomes. We'll see what happens. But I think where we are as a team, where we are in the draft is going to determine whether they want to spend draft capital on a quarterback or if they just want to go the veteran route. Say like a Cam Newton who might be available next year. Because I think Ron just wanted to see if he was healthy. Well, seems like he's healthy to me. And Ron loves that guy. We'll see. They could go the veteran route. I hope not. I want a young guy. I don't want a veteran. But it's not what I want, obviously. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny, who writes, Yo, Lou, what's good? By the time we get a franchise quarterback, your son will be that guy. In all seriousness, what are your thoughts on finding a QB? like I said, I want a young guy. You got to get it right. And a wise man once told me you can never stop looking. Doesn't matter how many times you fail, you can never stop looking for that guy. The minute you stop looking is the minute you give up. The minute you give up is the minute you admit you're a loser and you'll never win in this league. You got to keep looking. You got to keep searching until you find the right one. So whether that's by the draft or free agency, we just got to keep looking, man. We got to hope that we find the right guy. I want it to be via the draft because you want a young guy on a rookie deal that helps you save money. And also you want a guy that you can call your own for the next 15 years. You know, if you go out and get Cam Newton, that's a rental. Cam's 31, or he'll be 31 here shortly. And he's a rental. His body already has started to break down on him once before. He's 1 or 2 hits away from being back on the sidelines, worrying about his back or his shoulder or his ankle or his knee. Like, I just want my own guy. I want my own stuff. Nobody else's. So I prefer to draft a guy, but we'll see. Something that I trust now that I haven't been able to lay claim to in the past is that Kyle Smith is running the draft now. I trust Kyle Smith's evaluations of players. He really hasn't steered us wrong yet. Not yet. Just about every guy that we've drafted the last couple of drafts, and even the ones that I tried to slam them for, like a Cameron Curl. Cameron Curl has been awesome this year. Flat out wrong about Cameron Curl in the 7th round. Okay? So, you know, I questioned the Terry McLaurin pick. Initially, at least. Looks like a home run slam dunk pick. We were all like, Antonio, who? Antonio Gibson looks like the real deal. So I trust these dudes. I still have my doubts about the 2nd round. Not going to lie to you, even though I don't know how much he had to do with that. I still got my doubts about the 2nd round. But I think I trust Kyle Smith more than any evaluator we've had. That includes Scott McLaurin in the last 20 years. So with that being said, I trust him to maybe find us a quarterback. Because I know he didn't want Dwayne. I didn't want Dwayne. You guys know this. But once he got here, he's a part of the family. What are you going to do? You embrace him. You hope that he's the guy because you don't want to keep having to search. This is why I wanted to keep Kirk Cousins, because I did not want to go back into the quarterback wilderness. I had been there long enough. But we're back there again, it seems. Cooper Gorman, thank you for the super chat. Cooper Gorman, greatly appreciate you. With Haskins now being benched, if you could go back in time and choose Tua or Herbert over Young with all the information we have, would you do it? No. I think Chase Young is a game changer defensively. And Herbert looks like the real deal. He does. I'm not sure if that's early, career success. We've seen guys come in the league and have early success, i.e. Robert Griffin III. Now, this looks different than what Robert was doing. This doesn't look like an offense that's constructed around the skill set of a Justin Herbert, and he's just tearing it up because teams have to adjust to what they're doing schematically, like it was for Robert back in 2012. He looks legit like an NFL caliber quarterback, but I still wouldn't pass up Chase Young for him. Chase Young, to me, I know what I'm getting from Chase Young if he's healthy. I know what he is. He's Myles Garrett. Have you seen him? You see what he's doing? He's Myles Garrett. He's Von Miller. He's Danielle Hunter. He's an elite pass rusher in this league. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's healthy. He's the best player on the field defensively. Period. Now, I'm not passing him up. I feel good about that investment. I feel really good about it. I still want to find a quarterback, but I wasn't willing to give up on Dwayne for that. Now, if we had a chance to get Joe Burrow, that would have been a little bit different. But with Tua's injury history, I'm still like, yeah, I believe what I'm seeing in front of my face with Herbert, but I'm still like, Is he really that good? I know he's got it. He's got it. I've seen it already. But is he really that good? We're going to find out. I would still take Chase Young, though. Barrett Downing. Thank you for the super chat, BD. As always, greatly appreciate you. Barrett writes, just supporting, brother, because I'm lost in this benching, but if it produces win, all will be forgotten. Respect. At the end of the day, that's what Ron is after, wins. He's chasing wins. He even said it in his presser. I'm chasing short-term gratification here. And that goes against everything he said in the offseason, which is why the reporters were beating him up. But all he had to tell them was, look, when I initially made the statements that I made in the offseason, that was all in good faith. I meant every word of what I said. This was supposed to be a year of learning, guys getting experience, us building and establishing a culture. All of those things still ring true, and all of those things I meant when I said them. What I didn't account for, however, was this division being as bad as it's been to the start of the season, and us having a realistic chance at winning this division. I did not account for that. I thought Dallas and Philadelphia in particular were going to be better teams. And he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to shit on the Giants. He could have just said, I thought that one or two teams in this division would be light years ahead of everyone else. And I thought that we weren't going to be in a position where we are right now. And because we are here, I want to go after it now. I didn't think we would be here. Everything's changed now. Everything that I said, I meant it in the moment, but everything has changed because of the division and the circumstances that we're faced with. We got a shot, and I want to go after that shot. He didn't have to talk about 5,000 reps. He didn't have to talk about, like, when you start saying those things, they're going to throw that stuff back in your face. That's what reporters do. So don't give them the ammunition. You didn't need to say, hey, if Dwayne would have been 2-2, he would have still been playing. You don't need to give them that ammo so that David Aldridge could later in the press conference say, what's the difference between 1-3 and 2-2? Don't subject yourself to that. Just tell them, when I made the comments, I meant them, and I intended to do everything I said. And then the season started, and the entire division got hit with the ugly stick, and now we think we got a shot. So we're going to go after that. Change of plans. Just like when there's a detour in the road and your GPS says, hey, let's find you an alternate route. That's what we're doing now. We thought we were going straight. There's a little bit of construction going on in front of us. It actually benefits us. So we're going to turn around and go the other way now and see how that works. You tell them that, and if they don't like it, go to hell. But that's how you do that, and it's dead. But he starts explaining all these different little intricacies. They're going to keep throwing that stuff in your face. I thought he did too much at the presser today. Just say how you feel. I know how you feel. I've been trying to explain it to you guys for the last week and a half. I've been telling you, they're thinking about making a change. I told you after the game, man, he is very non-committal on Dwayne right now. I told you that on Monday when I listened to his presser. I said, that whole, I want Dwayne to start for week 5, but we'll see. That sounds real non-committal to me. I know how he feels. I told you the whole if the division was better narrative. I told you that already. He just didn't do a good job of explaining it, and he said too much. But it's all about wins, BD. It is, at the end of the day. And if they get him, it'll all be validation for him. If they don't, then you'll hear the cries of, you should have kept Dwayne in. So, and he's a big boy. He can deal with it. He knows what's at stake. Thank you for the super chat. Got another one here from Billy Blank. I'm about to call you Billy Blanks. Billy Banks. Thank you for the super chat. Billy Banks, who writes, deep in the conspiracy corners of the dark web, rumors are brewing. If fans turn on Ron/Snyder, they will have to compensate the other extreme. Could we pay Dak his $40 million? We have enough money. Interesting stuff there. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't it be ironic? I can kill all of that noise. the Cowboys aren't allowing Dak Prescott to go anywhere. Did you see his last 3 games? Mind you, they've all been losses. Not his fault. It's not his fault the defense can't help but give up 38 plus every week. In the last 3 weeks, they've given up 39, 38, and 49. That's not Dak Prescott's fault. All he did in the last 3 games is throw for over 450 yards, including 502 yards last game, the first quarterback in NFL history to have 3 straight games of 450 plus in a row. He's not going anywhere. If anything, his price just went up. It just spiked. All Dallas did was they allowed his price, and I told you, he's got him by the nuts. He's got him in the old proverbial Kirk Cousins chokehold, okay? He can do whatever he likes. He can do whatever he like. Yeah. He's running the show now. He's calling all the shots. They messed up. They should have just given him his 5 years that he wanted, or 4 years, whatever it was, because it wasn't a money thing. It was a year discrepancy. They should have just wilted and gave in. They messed up. Or as Dwayne said, the league done messed up. Well, I'm telling the Cowboys, y'all done messed up. I don't think Dak Prescott is going anywhere. I said all of that to say this. I don't think he's going anywhere. But I definitely think Washington would be interested. But this is the thing. When you pay a guy like Dak Prescott that kind of money, you take away from all the other guys that you need to sign. And I don't know how they feel about Jonathan Allen. I don't know how they feel about Daron Payne. I don't know how they feel about Ryan Kerrigan. I don't know how they feel about Brandon Sheriff. But these are all guys that they're going to have to make a decision on at the end of the year. Not Daron Payne. But Jonathan Allen is going into the final year of his deal next year. You got to make a decision. He's in the 4th year. They picked up the 5th year option. Next year, you're going to make a decision on Daron Payne to pick up his 5th year option. Like, these deals are looming. They're around the corner. Terry's not a first-round pick. There is no 5th year option. So next year, you're going into year 3, and you pretty much at that point would like to get something done with Terry so you don't get to year 4 without him having a deal. So all of this is looming. So do you really want to put yourself in a position? This is why you want a rookie quarterback or a quarterback on a rookie deal, so that you can spend money elsewhere, get some money off the book, so that when that quarterback's deal is finally up and it comes time to pay him, you've done everything you needed to do and put yourself in a position to pay him, and the window of opportunity is still open. That's what the Seattle Seahawks did. They maximized the time Russell Wilson was on that rookie deal. They signed everybody. They signed Dick Sherman. They signed Cam Chancellor. They signed Earl Thomas twice. Okay, they signed Bobby Wagner. They signed KJ Wright. They signed Marshawn Lynch. They signed Doug Baldwin. They did all of this while Russ was still on that rookie deal, because they had the extra money because they weren't paying a quarterback 30 some odd million a year. And then when it came time for Russ to get paid, you know what they did? Deuces Cam, deuces Earl, deuces Dick Sherman. Everybody had to go because now we got to pay our guy. But they had that window. That window shuts if you pay Dak Prescott $40 million a year. So I don't know. We got the money, but do you want to spend it that way? I don't think that's what they want to do. It'll be interesting, though. If we don't pay it, somebody else will be willing to pay it. Dallas is in a tough spot. I don't feel bad for them, though. I don't. Thank you for the super chat, Billy Banks. Santiago Tradell, thank you for tripling up. Greatly appreciate you, Santiago, who writes, love you, brother. I'm doing blessed. Stay blessed and safe, bro. I'm glad to hear that, man. Really glad to hear that you and your family and your loved ones are doing well. And I hope that it stays that way as well. Thank you so much for that update, Santiago Tradell. David Moore, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, David. Also, Santiago Tradell, really appreciate you again. Thank you so much for the super chat, Santiago. Thank you again. Got another one from Rob U. Thank you for tripling up, Rob U. Or you might be here, but I think you're here. Either way, we'll do both. Appreciate you, Rob U, who writes, I wanted Haskins to succeed, but totally was with you on Drew Lock. Could have had him and Montez Sweat without trading a pick. Once again, welcome back, Kendall Fuller. Obviously, as I just said earlier in the show, hindsight is 2020. We didn't know Drew Lock wasn't going to be a first-round pick. I thought he was going to get taken in the first round at some point, right? We didn't know he was going to fall all the way to 40, whatever it was. We couldn't have known that. And so, yeah, absolutely. If you just stand pat, you're able to get Montez Sweat and you're able to get Drew Lock if you don't make those moves. I don't know if Drew Lock would have been around in the second round at our second, because I believe we were in that particular draft. Haskins was 15th overall. So that would have put us in that 47 range in the second round. I think Lock came off the board like at 41 or 42 or something like that. Maybe if you liked Drew Lock, you could have traded up 5 spots or whatever it would have taken to get him. But, hindsight is 2020. Absolutely. I mean, bottom line is they didn't like Drew Lock. They had a chance to get him twice. They didn't want him. So, and we don't know if Drew Lock is going to be any good. We still don't know. I was looking forward to watching him this year. At some point, he'll be back for Denver. But it's a shame because they've lost some pieces on that offense already in this young season. But I was a Drew Lock fan. I'm still a Drew Lock fan, and you know how I feel about that. So, again, it's hindsight. You know how I feel about that situation. You know how I felt about Daron Payne versus the Virginia Tech linebacker. His name escapes me right now. I see Tremaine Edmonds. You know how I feel. I would much rather have Tremaine Edmonds. I wasn't as high on Derwin James, even though he's been good, but he's been injured. So, I wanted Tremaine Edmonds. That's the guy that I wanted. Anyway, I digress. Got another super chat. This one is from Trevor Patch. Thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch, who writes, everyone says they are tanking for me. Appreciate the love, fam. Maybe Lou will retire his Omen outfits. Look, the black has been getting a lot of work lately, man. I mean, you know how good it was early in the season to not wear black throughout the offseason, and then the first week to have on something other than black. I was like, man, I could get used to this. And then it's been raining black around these parts, man. Just black after black after black. Somebody said, man, you're going to run out of black clothes here shortly. To which my response is, I'm like a cartoon character. All I got is black in the closet. I'll be fine. This team has trained me and built me up. I've got the black. I'm ready to go tit for tat. So I'm used to it. Trust me. I got plenty of black where that came from. Thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch. Atlas013, thank you for the super chat and doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Atlas013, who writes, that video you uploaded earlier of McLaurin putting it on Humphrey still makes me sick. Man, was that nasty or what? And Chris Cooley doesn't think this guy's a number 1 wide receiver. I don't get it. I can't wait to watch him against Ramsey. Hopefully he's healthy because he didn't practice again today. And that just might be a precautionary thing that they're doing like they did last week with him, trying to just get him to Sunday. But this guy, Terry McLaurin, I swear is a number 1. We're going to find out because he's going up against the stiffest competition he's seen in his career on Sunday in Jalen Ramsey. He hasn't seen a corner like this, a physical guy that's going to shadow him everywhere he goes. Slot, out wide, left, right, doesn't matter where he goes. 20 will be following him. And it's going to be a hell of a matchup. And I think the best corner he's seen to date right now is Darius Slay. And he's had his way with Slay. So this is going to be the real. I thought he ate Patrick Peterson alive in Arizona. And I thought there were more opportunities for him. Patrick Peterson looked old when Terry was running out there. So, again, if Chris Cooley doesn't think he's a number 1, that's fine. That's his opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think contrary to that. I think that Terry's a number 1. And, that's Dwayne can't miss that opportunity. I told you, that's the play right there. If I'm the coaching staff, that's the one that I say, okay, hey, go get Kyle ready. Go tell Kyle to come in here. Kyle, shut the door. You're starting this week. All right. And moving forward, you're our guy. Okay. Let me show you this play. Don't let this shit happen or your ass is out too. And I would show him the play and say, this is the thing. this is the thing that kills me with Dwayne that I don't understand. And if I'm a young quarterback, my default is I'm going to force it to my guy. But when you look around the league at the best of the best, there's a reason why when Davante Adams is healthy, he's got 15 targets in a game. There's a reason why DeAndre Hopkins, when he was in Houston and now in Arizona, he's got 15 targets in games. In every game, he's got 10 or 12 targets. There's a reason why the elite receivers have such a high. Michael Thomas had 149 catches last year and had 170 targets for the Saints last season. There's a reason why. The reason why is that because in one-on-one situations, I trust my guy to win. And so it doesn't matter what my progression or my reads say pre-snap. I look at the defense, and if I assess the defense and I realize I got one-on-one, whether it's a slant, whether it's a comeback, whether it's a deep cross, whether it's a go route, I don't care. If Terry has one-on-one, I'm taking my shot to my guy. And there's too many times I'm watching film and Terry's screaming wide open or Terry's got one-on-one and he decides to work the opposite side of the field. He wants to throw it to Isaiah Wright. Why? He wants to throw it to Dontrell Inman. Why? He wants to throw it to Logan Thomas in double coverage. Why? I got Terry on the backside one-on-one. Scrap everything that you were told in practice. I got one-on-one with 17. I'm going to take that. I'll take my chances with that. If it doesn't work, it's on me. But I feel like my guy's going to win. And 9 times out of 10, he usually does. That's what the good quarterbacks do. Oh, I was supposed to go 1 to 3 in my progressions, and my guy was supposed to be 3. But guess what? He's got one-on-one. So you know who's number 1 in the progression in the read now? My guy. How many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or Tom Brady look at the coverage, and their guy was supposed to be the 3rd read on that play, and then they look at their guy and go, and that's him telling his guy, hey, you got one-on-one. I'm coming your way. You got one-on-one. Hey, run the 9 route. Oh, you got one-on-one. Run this comeback. I'm going to hit you right here. Run this back shoulder fade. I got you. It's one-on-one. How many times we seen that? You just got to know where your bread is buttered. That's not rocket science. That's just being smart. If everyone keeps telling you you don't have any talent, if the one guy that's going to win for you is out there one-on-one, why would you go away from that? Make them stop it. If they're not going to double them, eat them alive. Yum, yum, eat them up. Yum, yum, eat them up. Give them all the Terry they can stomach until they're full and regurgitating 17. That's what I would do. But again, I'm just a professional football watcher. I've never claimed to be anything other than that. That's it. I digress. Thank you for the super chat, Atlas013. See if we got any more super chats. And we do. See. See how far we got to go back up. Got this one from Tony P56. Tony P56 writes, Dwayne is a captain. Will he go out for the coin toss? Nah. Yeah, that's so you choose who goes out for the coin toss. You can elect captains that week of the game. You can make a guy a captain for that week. He's still going to have the C on his chest. That's not going to change, but he's not active. He won't even be dressed. If you're not active, you don't get a jersey. So, no, he's not going out for the coin toss. That's not how that works. Thank you for the super chat. Tony P56. Kevin, the PRF. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin, the PRF. My man Kev writes, having an average season and drafting a quarterback next year isn't oil and water. Top 6 teams in the NFL don't have a quarterback from the top 5. Already 3 projected in the first round past the top 2. No, those 2 can mix. You just got to get lucky. I mean, let's face it. When you look like first of all, nobody knew what Mahomes was going to be. So if you sit here and act like, oh my God, how did all of these teams pass on Mahomes? How did the Bears pass? The Bears passed on Mahomes just like everybody else. Nobody knew what Mahomes nor Watson was going to be. You could go off the tape. I wasn't a Mitchell Trubisky guy. I was intrigued by Mahomes, but I didn't know what Mahomes was going to ultimately turn into. I knew he had some real it to him in college, but I'm like, that running around backwards 30 yards and flinging it 60 yards in the air shit ain't gonna work. This ain't the Big 12. You ain't at Texas Tech no more. You ain't playing against Baylor, and you ain't playing against TCU anymore. That shit ain't gonna work. The hell it ain't. But I didn't know it, and nobody else did. And if you sit here and act like you did know that, you're lying. Deshaun Watson, I'm like, man, this is a one-read machine. If his first read isn't there, he's tucking it and running. I don't know if he's going to be good for the first couple of years of his career. I was wrong there too. And I think a number of teams thought the same way, and they passed on him too. So that's how you get those quarterbacks in the middle of the first round. But generally speaking, most times you got to draft a guy at the top of the draft. Now, Aaron Rodgers should have been the number one pick. It shouldn't have been Alex Smith. The 49ers got that wrong. But, those are the anomalies for the most part. Generally speaking, the elite quarterbacks go relatively early. And we'll see. It's not impossible to get you a quality quarterback at 15 or 16. It's just a lot harder. There are a lot fewer cases of Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilsons and, guys like that. Those guys are few and far between. The third round quarterback that turns out to be a gem, you're more likely to have the number 1 overall pick or the number 3 quarterback or the number 5 overall pick. You're more likely, more inclined for that guy to turn out to be a stud than you are the 17th pick in the draft. But it's not impossible. You can find a diamond in the rough in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, but it's rare. That's all I'm saying. It's just tough. And, with the way the league is set up, it's funny because every year I sit and I say, how can 5 more teams need a quarterback this year? If 5 teams needed a quarterback this past year, how can 5 more teams possibly need a quarterback next year? Like, at some point, you have to run out of teams that need a quarterback, a starter at least, and you got to say to yourself, we should be able to get this guy because just the sheer lack of necessity at the quarterback position. Like, there's just not a bunch of teams that need a quarterback. So by virtue of that, the quarterback should just fall, but it never happens that way. You think a team is cool with their quarterback situation like Green Bay, and they trade up and take a guy. Not to say that they traded up in the top 10, but they traded up and took a guy. That maybe you were one of those teams that said, man, we'd love Jordan Love at 34. Well, he's not there at 34 because the Packers decided to reach up and grab him. You might have been one of those teams that said, man, we'd love to take our shot at XYZ quarterback. Well, he's not there because he got snatched off the board in the first round. So it's hard to say. It really is. At the end of the day, you're more inclined to get the guy that you want by going up than waiting. Generally, it doesn't work that way. But I hear you, Kevin. It's not impossible. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin, the PRF. Thank you for the super chat, Mark McKnight. Greatly appreciate you. Just Andre, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Just Andre, who writes, you think Washington football team trades Haskins for a pick and uses that pick to move up in the draft to get their guy? Let me ask you this. Who's going to trade for Dwayne Haskins? I don't think anybody's trading for Dwayne Haskins. First of all, I don't think there were a lot of teams that... You remember that draft back in 2018? Or 2019, excuse me. I don't think there were a bunch of teams that were hard off on Dwayne or Drew Lock. I think both of those... If Washington doesn't take him at 15, I think he slips out of the first round. After seeing what I saw with Drew Lock, I feel really confident that nobody was going to bite on Dwayne Haskins. Nobody. We took him And I honestly believe we could have waited and traded up into the, back into the first round, or even waited until the second round and then traded up in the second round. If we really were getting antsy and thought somebody was going to take him, we could have traded up in the second round and got him and paid a less steeper price. But again, hindsight is 2020. I don't think this is how you pull the wool over somebody's eyes. I see it in the NBA all the time. In the NBA, GMs draft guys, and you have to do this in the NBA because you're projecting. You have to project because you're looking for the next megastar. It's not good enough to get a good 3-and-D or a good role player or a good third option. In the NBA, you're looking for superstars. That's how you win. Got to have a megastar. So what GMs in the NBA do is they got a guy that they loved since his AAU days, and they loved him in high school. And this guy might have had an injury or two, or maybe he didn't play well in college for 1 year and then he jumps to the league. They're going to take that guy. Or if that guy comes available 2 years down the road, wherever he got drafted, it didn't work, they'll go and get that guy because they still like that guy. They're still infatuated by that guy. You see it in the NFL all the time. You wanted a guy in the draft 3 years ago. Somebody else reached in front of you and got him. He doesn't work out for whatever reason in that stop. And a team says, hey, how about this? I trade you my trash for yours. The best example that comes to my mind right now is Jerry Hughes in Indianapolis. They spent, I think, a second-round pick on Jerry Hughes out of TCU. Didn't work. For whatever reason. Didn't work. And Buffalo said, yeah, we made a mistake with one of our draft picks early in the draft. How about this? I give you the dude we made a mistake on for the dude you made a mistake on, and we called it even. And it was like, yeah, let's do that. And Jerry Hughes went to Buffalo and balled out and had a stellar career for the Bills. That's the only way you get rid of Dwayne Haskins, is if someone else says, hey, I'll take Dwayne off your hands. And you say, hey, let me get that dude that you spent a third-round pick on that's not working for you, and we'll call it even. Cool. Other than that, you're not getting anything for Dwayne Haskins other than a hot ham and cheese sandwich that's cold. You won't even get it in a Ziploc bag. You won't even get it in a baggie. They might give it to you on one of those thin-ass Walmart great value napkins that's like 1-ply. And you know how dense a hot ham and cheese sandwich can be. Those are heavy. Especially if it's cold. I digress. I'm just telling you, I said all of that to say this. There's no market for Dwayne Haskins. There's no trade value for him right now. We just benched him. Zero value for this man right now. Thank you for the super chat. Metaphor says, thank you for the super chat first and foremost. He says, is that your Ron Rivera support hat, LT? Yeah, I'm supporting Ron tonight, man. Got the hat turned around the right way because I'm supporting my man Ron in his decision. He's gotten a lot of pushback. A lot of people saying, F Ron's plan. It ain't Ron's plan. Ron don't know what he's talking about. I'm officially done with Ron. I read all the comments, man. I read them. I'm just here to support my man Ron. I'm still Rivera strong. I don't know about you, but my support for Ron extends past hoping that he beats cancer. I'm in it for the long haul, man. It's still Ron's plan. Ron's plan. At least it is for me. I can't speak for anybody else out there. Thank you for the super chat metaphor. Brandon McCloskey says, this, first of all, double up, thank you for doubling up, Brandon McCloskey. Greatly appreciate you, Brandon, who writes, this offseason is going to be very interesting to watch. Just like last year, Ron's plan. Indeed, I'm not even thinking about the offseason. We 4 weeks in. I'm going to enjoy every second of this season. No matter how dysfunctional or how bad it may look at times, or how displeased I may be with one of the decisions made or how we're playing, we almost didn't get football this year. So I'm going to enjoy every second of it. I don't know if we're going to get 16 games or not. I'm just going to enjoy every bit of it. And then once we get closer to the end of the season, we can start turning our attention to the draft and the offseason, who's a free agent, who fits with this roster and that, and should we re-sign Brandon Sheriff for this guy or that guy, then we'll get there. But right now, I'm just looking at the Rams. I'm licking my lips. How does lamb taste? Or ram? Probably like chicken. Well, I'm a vegan, but I'd sure like to find out. I don't know. I'm hoping we can find a way to win. I may be naive, but I'm hoping we can find a way to win. We'll see. It will be an interesting offseason. For sure. See. Got another super chat here from Tony P56. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Tony P56. Tony writes, why win the division? None of our QBs are the guy. Why not win the division? See, that's how somebody who doesn't want to answer your question could easily answer that question. Why not win the division? I'm not going to do you like that because I like you, Tony. You win the division because once you get to the postseason, all bets are off. Who thought the Tennessee Titans, led by Ryan Tannehill, would get to the postseason as a 6th seed, as a wild card, go to New England, win, then follow that up the next week with another win at Baltimore before finally, after having a 17-7 lead, I may add, going to Kansas City and losing in the AFC Championship game? Who, by a show of hands, how many of you thought that was going to take place? Not many of you. And if you got your hand up, you're a damn liar. And I'm going to call you a liar to your face. You're lying. I'll tell you that. Okay? I said that to say this. Once you get to the postseason, all bets are off. We're not in the NBA. We're not in the MLB. We're not in the NHL. You don't have to win the best 3 out of 5. You don't have to win the best 4 out of 7. You just got to win one game. If the other team shows up and they play a bad game, you move on. Survive and advance. So I don't care what the quarterback situation looks like. If our defense, all I'm looking to do right now is tread water. Because I really think this defense has a chance to be good. They're just inconsistent right now. Every game that I watch, I say, man, we had some good stretches. I'm watching the Baltimore film right now. And now the offense partly helped in the first half against Baltimore because they possessed the hell out of the football. I talked about that on the film, and I also talked about it on the Washington Football Nightly program yesterday, how we had 41 offensive snaps in the first half. Wow. Not used to seeing that kind of number from us. 72 for the entire game. That's a lot for us. For some teams, that's nothing. I think the Panthers ran something like 80 or 90 snaps offensively against us in week 2. That'll get you beat. But when I was watching the game, I said, man, the defense isn't bad. Like, you say that every game. This defense has a chance. And then you got your stretches where you're like, man, we stink defensively. And when you say that not because we actually stink, but because you're frustrated. No, the defense stunk last year. This defense doesn't stink. They're just inconsistent. And really, the real inconsistencies came when Chase Young got hurt. Arizona was the one game where you're like, man, we look outmatched. We really did in that game at times. But that was Kyler Murray, too. I thought we actually did a good job against Lamar Jackson. We just didn't get pressure on him. Why didn't we get pressure on him? Because we was missing Chase Young and Matt Ioannidis. I would like to see Montez Sweat get to the quarterback. I told you, if Montez Sweat could be consistent like he was against Cleveland, we got something. But he hasn't shown me that yet. I know it's there, but he hasn't shown me yet. But I know Chase Young, if he plays, he's the most dominant player on the field for us. That's why I wouldn't trade Chase Young for a chance at Tua or Herbert or none of those guys. Because I know what I'm getting if I put him on the field. And if you got a guy that can wreck shop, you got a chance. Because if you got a chance on defense, then you got a chance to win ball games. That's how Tennessee did it last year. They ran the football, they played defense. Well, we're not going to run the football, but if we can play defense, you got a shot. So that's why I want to win the division. I want to go to the playoffs. I want to have a shot. Once they shut the doors to the dance, and you give them your ticket at the door, and they let you in, and they say, all right, we got all the tickets that were issued We're going to shut this door. All hell breaks loose once those doors are shut. Thanks for the super chat, Tony P. 56. Got another super chat. This is from my man, Derek B. Thank you for the super chat, Derek B., who writes, seems like he was set up as schedule gets weaker. You would think that if they were really hell-bent on building Dwayne's confidence, this would be the stretch of games. And I told you, I said these next couple of weeks are going to be pivotal for Dwayne. I thought the Giants game was the one. Not this game, not last game. I thought the Giants game was the one. I said if he struggles in the first half of the Giants game, look out for the switch. Look for the hook man. You better listen to your corner and watch for the hook. But we never got there. Ron had a plan in his mind. I didn't know Ron had a plan, but Ron told us. My plan was the first 4 games of the season. He had to go 2-2 in order to keep his job. Or he had to look like a guy that was playing good football and other parts of the team weren't doing their job, weren't holding up their end of the bargain. Well, it definitely wasn't the latter of the two. It was most certainly Dwayne not playing well enough on his end. Now, again, I've talked about this numerous times. It wasn't just Dwayne. And if you're one of those people that think it was just Dwayne, then you are delusional and you haven't been watching these games closely enough. Because there were a bunch of contributing factors as to why this team has started the season off 1-3. Not all of the offenses doing either. Not all number 7 under center either. Okay? A lot of things went wrong for this team that were out of the control of Dwayne Haskins as to why this team started the season 1-3. But he didn't do his job to overcome some of the shortcomings of some of the other aspects of this football team. And that's what you need your quarterback to do. I hate to bring up Dallas and compare us to them in any facets of the game, but against the Atlanta Falcons, the Cowboys turned it over 5 times essentially in the first half. 3 turnovers and 2 failed fake punts. Those are turnovers too. And you know what Dak Prescott had to do? He had to put the team on his back and he had to bring them back despite all of the shortcomings of Ezekiel Elliott and the defense not being able to get a damn stop and all of the shit that was going wrong. He had to strap the team to his back, and he did it again on Sunday versus the Browns. Defense can't get a stop to save their life. They're down 41-14. Cleveland has checked out for the game because they think that they're up 27. This game's over in the fourth quarter. And Dak leads 3 straight touchdown drives, 3 straight 2-point conversions, and in the blink of an eye, they go from down 27 to down 24. I'm not saying that's what we expect Dwayne to be right off the bat, but that's what you need your quarterback to be able to do for you. And I just don't see that in Dwayne right now. So you would think, though, that this would have been a prime spot for him to get some wins, get some confidence. And you could look at it this way and say, hey, this looks like they're setting up Kyle Allen for some success. The Rams aren't as good as we think because they're 3-1 and all 3 of their wins have come against our division. That's not that damn daunting of a task when you think about it that way. You get the Giants twice, I believe, in the next month and a half, and the Cowboys sliced in there. You feel like, hey, we got a shot. And he could be setting Kyle Allen up for some success. It seems like it. If you ever wanted to say, hey, I'm putting this guy in because I think he gives us the best chance to win, and you look at the competition coming up, you'd say this is the chance for you to be validated with the schedule coming up. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Thanks for the super chat, Derek B. See, got another super chat. This one is from GearCell 1. GearCell 1, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. GearCell 1 writes, I guess those leather draws Haskins was wearing on game day finally got him benched. Tragic. Yeah, man. Leather draws will get you every time. Every single time. That's probably why the mobility wasn't there this year. That's probably why he didn't want to run out of the pocket. A little hot down there. Maybe. Maybe you're on to something, Gear Cell 1. I don't know. Thank you for the super chat. As always, Gear Cell 1. Juice Alert. The Juice Alert. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Juice Alert writes, don't agree with Rivera. Until Washington is patient with a quarterback, they will never fully succeed. Rivera is mistaken if he thinks Washington can win the East. So I don't necessarily agree with the decision either. Maybe I was being stubborn because in my mind, I told you how I was feeling early in the season. I said, I'm not as confident as I was in the offseason. You know, I'm not seeing the Dwayne I saw last year. That's the thing that was frightening to me. It wasn't the misses accuracy-wise. It wasn't, you know, some of the interceptions or it wasn't any of that stuff. I just didn't see the playmaker Dwayne that I saw last year. I didn't see the guy that was out playing ball. I saw a guy that was uptight. I saw a guy that was looking not to make a mistake instead of a guy looking to try to be aggressive, which is what he was last season. He was aggressive. I didn't see that guy. I didn't see a guy looking to get outside the pocket and extend a play and make a play down the field. I saw a guy that was like a robot back there. And that's not the guy that I thought had a realistic shot at leading this franchise for many years to come. But so I don't necessarily agree with Rivera, but I don't disagree with him either. Here's why. He didn't anticipate the division being this way. And I know you say he's mistaken if he thinks they can win the division. He's not wrong for at least trying. He's not wrong. You may not think he's right, but he's not wrong for trying. You may ultimately be proven right. And there's no way we're winning this division. You may be right. There are red flags. However, I told you earlier that you can never stop trying to find the right guy at the quarterback position. And in a situation like that, you can never stop trying to win your division, especially when it's sitting there right in front of you for the taking. You might not be the one that actually takes it, but it's there for the taking. It's sitting right there on the table. Who's going to get to it first? I get it. He wants to go after it. It's sitting right there. He didn't think it would be there. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. And it's a lot, let me say this and we'll move on. It's a lot easier, Juice Alert, to be patient with a guy that you handpicked. Think about that for a second. You are much more willing to squeeze your feet in that 11 and a half if you wear a 12, if you really like the shoe. If you really like the shoe and you wanted it bad enough and they tell you, hey, we ain't got no more 12s. We got an 11 and a half though. How bad you want it? You might ball your feet up. You might even get a corn. But if you want the shoe bad enough, if you're willing to do it bad enough, if you like the shoe enough, you're going to put your feet in that 11 and a half. If you don't like the shoe enough, if you don't love the shoe, you got to love the shoe to be willing to take what comes with that. Knowing that there may be a little bit of discomfort. You may risk getting a corn on one of your toes. And you may permanently have your toes like this from having them balled up in a fetal position because your toes are like, bro, I need another half. I need another half inch, man. What you doing back here? What are we doing right now? But if you just like the shoe, you're not willing to put your feet at risk. Nah, not for those. For those bread 11s, yeah, I might curl my toes up. For those bread 11s. I might do that. But for the 8s, actually, I do like 8s. For the 17s, I actually like the 17s. For the 23s, nah, I'm not doing that, bruh. I'm not curling up my toes in these 23s because I don't love those. They all right. What I'm telling you is Ron is like, this is not my guy. So I don't have to stick around to find out if he's going to be the guy. He's not my guy. I don't love Dwayne. I like Dwayne. I don't love him. So I'm not willing to stick around to find out if he's going to get better when I can win this division. So the next guy that they choose, it'll be his guy. And guess what? When it's your guy, you're going to be willing to stick your foot in that 11.5, even if early on you're like, man, he's not showing us what we want him to show us, but he's our guy. And we think he can do it, so we're going to stick around and find out if he really can or not. Hope that makes sense to you. Thank you for the super chat, the juice alert. Got another one here from Brendan McCloskey. Thank you for the super chat, Brendan McCloskey. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for tripling up. Brendan writes, just became a Patreon. Been really enjoying your film breakdown. Keep up the great work, Lou. Thank you, Brendan. I told you I would not disappoint you. Patreon is where it's at. If you're not a patron, what are you waiting on? Get on Patreon. Lots of content up there for you at your disposal. And these film breakdowns are legit. Like, I'm not skimming through the film. All right. Only the plays that are unimpactful where nobody does anything am I skipping over. The film breakdown of the first half was literally damn near 2 hours. All right. Now, that might be too much for you. But I'm thorough. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm thorough with mine. Okay. We're going through this with a fine-tooth comb. So I'm just letting you know, this film breakdown is legit. So I'm glad you enjoyed Brendan McCloskey, and look forward to chopping it with you in the future. And thank you once again for your patronage. Got another super chat. This one is from Trevor Patch. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Trevor Patch. Greatly appreciate you. As always, Trevor, who writes, Dwayne benching will wake up others on the team. I don't know if this was we sending a message. Shots fired, pop, pop in the air. I don't think that's what this is. Because you don't have to send a message, shots fired, by benching your quarterback. There are other ways to get that message across. I think, and Ron said this himself at the presser. He looked at guys on the sidelines. He's looking at guys and he realizes this ain't it. And eventually they're going to start looking at me and saying, Coach, this ain't it. If you're going to keep doing this, I'm going to check out on your ass. Because this ain't it, Coach. This ain't it. It's only so long. I told you a wise man once told me, when you're not playing the right guy at the quarterback position, when they think another guy is more qualified, you run the risk of losing your squad. Ron just got here. He's trying to establish a culture. You can't afford to have guys not believing in your message this early in the process. These players come to work every day. They watch film. They lift weights. They sacrifice themselves. They get treatment. They're hurting at night. They're not doing that so that they can go 3-13. His responsibility is to the entire team, all 53 guys on the roster at any given moment, not to just one dude. And at times this year, it seemed like the allegiance was to Dwayne more so to, because I'm going to be honest with you. That decision to not kick the field goal in a 18-point game, to cut it to 2 scores, just so you can see Dwayne make a decision in that moment, that's bullshit. I told y'all that then. I told y'all that again on the film. I'm telling y'all that again now. And Ron's my guy. That was bullshit. You don't sacrifice the work of everybody else just so you can give Dwayne a test in the third quarter of a ball game. That's not what we're doing here. You got a chance to actually win a game. We have been moving the football against the Ravens. Now, truth be told, our defense wasn't going to get enough stops. But in an NFL game, you give yourself a chance until you can't give yourself a chance any longer. The way you do that is by prolonging the game, which means if you're down by 18 with a chance to kick a field goal to cut it to 15, you do that because you've just prolonged the game because now it's a 2-score game instead of 3. You don't do foolishness like go for 2 when you're down by 26. All right. And say, hey, if we get this It'll cut it to 18. There's no point in doing that. There's no point in doing that. You cut it to 19. All right. Why do you cut it to 19? Because you're trying to prolong the game. You cut it to 19 because 2 2-point conversions and a field goal gets you 19 points. But if you don't convert that 2-point conversion, now you're down by 20. And now you need 3 touchdowns. There's no way 2 2-point conversions and a field goal can get you back in this game. Now you need 3 touchdowns. You're looking to prolong the game every time you get a chance. Give yourself a shot. You weren't doing that on Sunday because you were looking to try to help Dwayne. Advance Dwayne. And now, you know, and Dwayne didn't respond well in that environment, in that moment. I understand that. I get it. But at the same time, it was Dwayne's development at times was coming at the expense of the other 52 guys on the roster. And at some point, initially, guys are okay with that. If the Cowboys were 3-1 and the Eagles were 3-1, maybe guys would be okay with that. But when they look up at the standings, and if the Eagles had lost on Sunday night and they looked up and they see that they're in first place, but the guy under center is holding them back and they know that, it's hard to keep going forward with that. It's hard. So, I don't think this was hey, we're going to send a message. This was just, hey, look, I don't want to run the risk of losing the rest of the guys in the locker room. I don't think Dwayne gives us the best chance to win in this environment where the division is on the line and we feel like we got a shot. We got to give ourselves the best shot to win, and Dwayne isn't the guy that does that. Got another super chat. This one is from Door Gunner. Thank you for the super chat, Door Gunner. Greatly appreciate you, as always, Door Gunner, who writes, Part 2 of the Alex Smith story could be epic. Imagine a playoff run with Alex at the helm. Anything's possible in this mess called 2020. Hashtag 2020 is busted. Yeah, you're right. That would be an epic second act for Alex Smith. But do you really think that's going to happen? Seriously, ask yourself that. Now, it could. And it'd be a feel-good story. That would go national. That'd be Good Morning America material. All right, but I'm not going to lie to you. I don't see it happening. And when Alex Smith was healthy, and he played on some teams with some dominant defenses, he wasn't able to get it done then. So why would he be able to get it done now? You know, he played on a defense with Aldon Smith, Justin Smith, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman. Like, elite level defenses. And he still wasn't able to win. The Chiefs were dominant one year. 13-3. Number 1 seed in the AFC. And he couldn't even score a touchdown. They got beat by like 5 field goals against the Steelers. I just don't see it with Alex. But you said it best yourself. 2020 has been a crazy year with a bunch of curveballs, and who knows? We'll see. Thank you for the super chat, Jay Lee. Greatly appreciate you. Got another one from Gearcell 1. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Gearcell 1. Really appreciate you. Gearcell 1 writes, your Patreon is legit. That is the truth. Please tell Ron not to wear a V-neck sweater with butt out jeans again. Tragic. It's never okay to wear ass out jeans. Never. All right. Ever. But I'll allow the V-neck sweater. As long as it doesn't come down too far, I'll allow the V-neck sweater. What kind of material is it will determine whether that V-neck sweater is okay. If it's a leather V-neck sweater, nah, we can't do that. If it's a corduroy V-neck sweater, absolutely not. But if it's just cotton, I could live with that. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the kind words about my Patreon. Again, if you're not on Patreon, What are you waiting on? I'm trying to tell you it's well worth the donation. I appreciate every single one of my patrons, and I try to produce the best level of content so that you guys enjoy Patreon and feel like your donation is going to good use. So thank you so much for that, Gear Cell 1. So that is all of the super chats, and that's really the show. I mean, I want to go over what was said at the podium quickly. I've kind of done it already, though, just in talking, but Ron pretty much, he was ambushed. And he was ambush isn't the right word, because ambush would imply that you didn't know it was coming. He was bombarded, overwhelmed. I think he thought he was going to answer maybe 2 or 3 questions about Dwayne, and then they were going to start asking him about the Rams or asking him about how, like today, during this press conference, they didn't give a shit about how Ron was feeling. He didn't get one, hey, Ron, how are you feeling today? How was your treatment? Do you think you're going to be able to coach on? They didn't give a shit about Ron's condition today. Not a one question, not one person said, hey, Ron, glad to see you're feeling well today, before they came out and asked him a question. They went straight for the jugular. I think he was taken aback by that. He said, oh, I see how y'all really are. When shit gets tough, I see how y'all really going to treat me. I think he got surprised today. And let me be honest, it wasn't like New York or Boston or Chicago questions being thrown at him, like some real flagrant stuff. But they were repetitive. They pop shotted him, pop, pop, pop. They kept boop, 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 boop. They kept hitting him. And they beat him up a little bit. But I thought he said the same thing in 10 different ways. I thought he said too much is what I thought. I thought he said way too much. I thought he divulged way too much. I thought he was too defensive. He just needed to say what I said earlier, which is, when I said everything that I said in the offseason about this team and what we were going to be, I meant it then. I mean it now. Here's the difference. I didn't anticipate the division being as bad as it's been. I think we got a shot to win the division. And I think the quarterback that gives us the best shot is Kyle Allen. And if it's not him, I'm want to try out Alex Smith. I know he's a veteran. He's battle tested. He's won in this league before. I know I can trust him. And that's that. End of discussion. I thought he said too much. Now, Scott Turner was interesting because Scott pretty much said, yeah, Dwayne was struggling. What else y'all want me to say? I could, and he dressed it up. Scott's a buttoned up dude. He's been around football his entire life. His dad's been a head coach and offensive coordinator. He knows what to say and what not to say. But I'm reading in between the lines. I know how to read what's being said. Scott, and I told you 2 weeks ago, Scott was like, nah, I called a good game. This ain't on me. I got guys open. I did my job. Y'all talking to the wrong person. I told you Scott felt that way 2 weeks ago. So Scott was just like, look, I don't need to switch up. Like, this whole narrative about we don't have any players. You didn't have a lot of the playbook at your disposal. Maybe that's true. He tried to downplay that whole, are you going to be able to run more of your stuff now that you got a guy that knows the entire playbook and is comfortable with it? And he's like, nah, that ain't really, the situation. It was never Dwayne doesn't know this and Dwayne doesn't know that, and I don't want to call anything. He's just like, Dwayne was missing shit. He said, and he literally said it without cussing. He said, we just can't miss stuff. The thing about Dwayne, it wasn't the turnover. And I said this 3 weeks ago. It's not about turnovers. It's not about the He's just missing stuff. And I'm not even talking about the inaccurate stuff that he's missing. I'm talking about he's just not seeing the field well. Like, there's only so many times you can dial up the perfect play against the defense. You see it. You get what you want. They got the exact defense that you want them to be in for this exact play call. And Dwayne's not seeing it. The quarterback is supposed to be an extension of the offensive play caller. So when you're on the field as a coordinator and you're looking at it from up above and you're looking down and you're seeing how things are going, You're setting stuff up. You're calling this play early in the game, and you called 3 of these because at some point you want to go pump and go off of the slant. You done ran 3 slants. Now you want to go pump and go, which they did. And Dwayne, on one play, they ran a stop and go. And Dwayne decided he wanted to check it down. And Terry won big time on the stop and go. You worked all game to set that play up. You dial it up. You get the coverage you want. And Dwayne decides, I want a 7-yard completion instead of a 77-yard completion. What do you do? What do you do? You know what you do. You say, all right, I'm going to get a guy in here that's going to get me the 77-yard completion, or at least attempt it. I mean, and that's what it all boils down to. So Scott was like, yo, look, I don't really have to change nothing. Guys are open. I'm scheming some shit up over here. Y'all keep telling me I don't have the right groceries to cook the meal. I think I'm prepping a pretty good damn meal over here, if I have to say so myself. Yeah, I could use a little bit more seasoning, you know. And if I wanted to, I could add a few more veggies, maybe a little bit of a meat over here. Of course, vegan. But this dish tastes pretty damn good to me. I think I'm doing a pretty damn good job, considering the circumstances. We'll see when my guy gets in there now. This is how Jay Gruden always felt in Washington. They kept putting quarterbacks on him outside of Kirk. The only thing he didn't like about Kirk is Kirk wouldn't take the risks down the field, and Jay wanted him to. But every other quarterback, whether it's Alex Smith, Robert Griffin III, any other guy that was here, he'd rather play Colt McCoy. That was his guy. Because he knew Colt would take shots and take risks. He was going to throw interceptions, but Jay didn't care about that. Jay wanted a guy that was going to take risks. And at some point, you got to take a risk. A wise man once told me, no risk it, no biscuit. Scared money don't make money. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Well, let's get it then. You can't get the money if you ain't betting no money. I always make fun of my girl. When we go to the casino, she want to play the penny slots. And look, she hit it for $32 one time. That was her come up. She checked out. She cashed her ticket out. She was so happy. You would have thought we just hit it for $32,000. She was jumping up and down. $32. But that was good enough for her. I can't play the penny slots because scared money don't make no money. You ain't winning no real money off the penny slots. And that's all I'm saying is in order to be able to make the plays that are there, you got to be able to take some of the risks that come with them. There's some risks associated with some of these plays. You got to be willing to take the risks. And Dwayne wasn't willing to do that. And so I got a super chat here from Jay Lee. Thank you for the super chat, Jay Lee. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Jay Lee, who writes, couldn't get Amari and Austin Hooper this free agency, and these fans been mad at Ron for being stingy. We need to be mad at the Dolphins last year. We need to be like the Dolphins last year to get free agents. They tried. It wasn't for a lack of trying. Now, they didn't try to get Austin Hooper. They thought Austin Hooper was outside of their price range. They had a specific price in mind for Austin Hooper, and once it exceeded that price, they was like, hey, Austin, go ahead and get your money, man. You won't get it here. Go get your bread. But they wanted Amari. They were willing to go to whatever lengths to get Amari Cooper, and he just wanted to stay in Dallas. It's closer to home for him. He liked it in Dallas. That's good for him. I'm not an Amari Cooper guy, so I wasn't mad at that. Would he have made this team better? You damn right he would have made this team better. For sure. It's not even up for debate. But I'm not an Amari Cooper guy. So I wasn't mad that he didn't want to come here. Got another super chat. This one is from Vanguardian TV, who writes, what's Dwayne's trade value at this point? 0. He's got no trade value right now. None. At some point you might be able to get a late round draft pick for him if it gets to that point. I mean, you won't get what the Cardinals got for Josh Rosen, which was a second round pick. You're not getting that for Dwayne. I think at this point now, as I mentioned earlier, the only thing you can do in terms of trade value is I trade my failed draft choice for your failed draft choice. You got a second rounder that didn't play well for you. Like, I give you an example. Let's say, and this is not going to happen because this is his last year in Indy and he's been banged up. But let's just go with the premise that Malik Hooker didn't get injured this year. And let's say he had one more year on his deal and the Colts weren't satisfied with Malik Hooker. That's a position of need for Washington. Safety, I believe. And let's say Kyle Smith loved Malik Hooker at Ohio State and don't think the Colts are using him correctly. And let's say the Colts, after this year with Phillip Rivers, are like, all right, Phil, we just wanted to see what you look like for 1 year. You washed. We good. We won't need seconds of that. And they say, we need a young quarterback, but we're too good to get a young quarterback because Phillip, got us to 9-7. And that was good for the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs. And now we're drafting 21st. So we can't get one of the guys we want. And we're not willing to pay the price that it's going to take to get up in the draft and get the guy that we want. We like Dwayne. We thought Dwayne was worthy of a second round pick. Tell you what, we're done with Malik Hooker. We can't salvage him. How about we trade you Malik Hooker, you trade us Dwayne Haskins, and we call it even. You could do one of those types of deals with somebody where they got a guy that they drafted high and it didn't work. You got a guy that you drafted high, it didn't work, and you swap players. You could do that for Dwayne, but you got to find a team that is interested in, and it's a lot harder to do it when it's a quarterback because that team has to want that quarterback. It's a lot easier when it's a linebacker or a safety or a receiver because you can just throw them in the mix. It's hard to do that at quarterback, but there is no trade value for Dwayne right now. None. Thank you for the super chat, Van Guardian TV. So Scott Turner was pretty direct and blunt. He was like, Dwayne was missing stuff. So we just going to move on, and we'll see what we get with Kyle Allen. And he pretty much talked about Kyle Allen's shortcomings last year and how he learned. He did say this, though. He did say, hey, look, on Dwayne, sometimes a guy just needs to sit and watch how it's done. Sometimes you need to step out of the fire, heal up your third-degree burns, and then get back in there and see if you can do better next time. And they're hoping that Kyle Allen is at that point. That's what Scott pretty much was saying. Like, Kyle did some really good things last year, but Kyle also did some bullshit last year. And we're hoping that him being able to step back, watch some things this year, see what some of the guys' strengths are, what their weaknesses are, see what you can and can't do. We're hoping that he comes back a better quarterback. And again, you're hoping it's that Kirk Cousins 2015 narrative. Hey, wasn't all that great the first time. Got benched. Came back around the second time. Learned some things. Saw how it's done. Played better. We'll see. And then Kyle Allen himself. I like Kyle. Just listening to him talk. I like him. He's a real personable dude. He sounds like a guy that understands that, look, I don't know how many more of these opportunities I'm going to get. And as a quarterback, it's only a certain amount of these you get before you're labeled around the league. It's okay to be a journeyman quarterback as long as you understand you're a journeyman quarterback. Like you're a backup now. He's still fighting to be a starter in this league. So he understands this may be the last shot I get. So, and he pretty much said it like, these opportunities, they don't come very often. I'm thankful for this opportunity and I want to make the most of it. So I'm rooting for him. I have preconceived notions of what I think it's going to ultimately be, but I'm rooting for him. I hope it works out. Because if it works out for him, it works out for us. But I think I know how this movie ends, but we'll see. I'm on board. Because as I stated in the offseason, I've stated throughout this season, it's Ron's plan. So that's going to do it for me tonight. I thank you guys for joining me. Had a blast tonight, man. This was fun. I knew it was going to be a great show because of all of the happenings of today. And you guys were awesome tonight. And I thank you guys so much for your participation and your support. I really do. And look forward to chopping it up with you guys in the future. Obviously, we'll be back with the Washington Football Nightly program at its regularly scheduled time, which is somewhere between 6 and 8:30. And I'll be live again on Friday for the Louie T Network podcast. We'll be live tomorrow night at the conclusion of Bears and Bucks. That should be a good game. So we'll be chopping it up here in the near future a number of times before it is all said and done. With that being said, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already done that. I love that it's already exceeded 100 likes. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you. If you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and hit it before we get out of here. And also, if you're not a patron, what are you waiting on? Everybody's telling you. I don't have to self-promote. People are promoting it for me. They're telling you it's a great product. It's worth your time. It's worth your donation. It's worth your energy. Get on Patreon, man. A lot of great content up there. So, also, Louie T Network merch. You want to support Louie T Network? You can do so by purchasing some merch. And, I know a lot of you have asked me about hats and things of that nature. They're coming down the pipeline. We're working on that right now as we speak, and eventually we'll have all of that in there. But in the time being, it's October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which means I've got breast cancer awareness merch. So if you want to donate to the Susan G. Komen Foundation and you want to support the Louie T Network at the same time, you can do that by purchasing some of the merch. And some of the proceeds will go to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. With that being said, I'm going to glide to the side. I thank you guys so much. And if you got merch, send me a picture. Email me a picture. Send me a picture on socials. You got some merch and you rocking the merch. I want to see the pictures because I want to promote it. So I've heard nothing but great feedback about the merch, that the delivery was quick. The merch itself is great quality. It's soft. It feels good. It looks good. I've heard nothing but good things. So I'm excited about that. And if you've got some merch and you're rocking it, I'd love to see it. And I want to thank you guys again for your support. Can't do it without you. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I thank you guys once again. Remember, it's Ron's plan. Ron's plan. I'm your man, Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly live. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Oh, wait. I got a super chat. And I thought I had a super chat. And I do have a super chat. This one is from Jared Brymesser. Thank you for the super chat, JB, who writes, if you had to pick a quarterback next year in the draft, who would you pick other than Lawrence? I know we might not be a high draft pick, but just curious. I would take, I've actually grown fond of Trey Lance. I did a video on him earlier in the season, like literally at the end of the summer, early September. I did a video about Trey Lance. So I've been introduced to him already. I've already watched some film on him. I've got more film to comb over, but he's impressive. He's just not, it's not a lot of experience there. Same thing can be said for Justin Fields. Not a lot of experience there. He's talented too, but I think Trey Lance is actually a little bit further in his development, and Trey Lance plays in a pro-style offense. North Dakota State has a way about them preparing their quarterbacks for the next level. That's why their guys get drafted. Whether you're talking about an Easton Stick or you're talking about Carson Wentz, they seem to find ways to get guys drafted in the NFL. So I'm excited about Trey Lance. That's probably the guy that I would be willing to take a risk on. And he's an athlete too. And in today's NFL, guys like him are scary because he's a dual threat quarterback. He can do it with his legs and his arm. So Trey Lance is the guy that I like right now. But subject to change. It definitely could change. But that's the guy that I would rock with right now. Thank you for the super chat, Jared Brian Messer. So that's it. I thank you guys again for your support, and I'll see you next time.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The